welcome back to Passionately Catholic. So we've had a couple of videos recently talking about different saint miracle stories. So the gift of bilocation is one that I'm kind of really getting into lately. And there's another story from the 17th century of Venerable Mary of Agreda, Spain. Okay, now she was wrapped in an ecstasy. This was a mystical experience, and she was sent basically by Jesus to New Mexico to instruct the Native Americans, tribes there in Catholicism. And she wore a blue mantle over herself, and she was known to the Indians as the Lady in Blue, and she instructed them in their faith. Now, here's what's interesting is that Mary did this several times. There were several experiences of this, several times that she did this to instruct the tribe, several tribes, I think, in terms of their faith so that they could understand it better. Now, the Archbishop of Mexico, not New Mexico, but the Archbishop of Mexico received two reports of this Lady in Blue who was instructing the people of New Mexico, some of these tribes in New Mexico. One was from Venerable Mary of Agreda's confessor, who actually contacted the Archbishop in Mexico because she had shared with him that she had been doing this by locating there. So he wanted to check in on it to see if it was really legitimate. And then the other report was from missionaries who had been up into New Mexico and were encountering these Native Americans who were well versed in their faith. They had clearly been taught their faith, and they explained that they had been instructed by this Lady in Blue, this Venerable Mary of Agreda. Now, the Archbishop of Mexico doesn't just leave it at that. Okay, he appoints a priest, a gentleman, to go and investigate this situation. So this priest goes up into New Mexico, does missionary work, gets to know the people, finds that they are well versed in their faith, learns a lot about this Lady in Blue. Okay, now later this priest ends up making his way to Europe, and he's traveling throughout various parts of Europe. He's not expecting anything special, but he visits by chance the convent monastery of Venerable Mary of Agreda, right? And he meets her, and there's an interaction that takes place in which he learns that she was actually the woman who was doing these visits. So he challenges her on this a little bit, and he's like, well, tell me about the places that you visited. Tell me about the people over there that you visited and instructed and catechized in their faith. So Venerable Mary of Agreda explains the various things, where she was, who she was talking to, this kind of stuff. And I mean, I would love to have been there to have seen the priest's face while she's doing this, because I mean, the way that he described it later was that she knew the people, she knew the places, and he was absolutely convinced that Venerable Mary of Agreda had actually been there, and then testified to this to various church authorities, bishops, etc. Now, this priest actually also went on to become the auxiliary bishop in Goa, India, which is where St. Francis Xavier's incorrupt body is still kept. So he ends up going there. And as a bishop, he even gave testimony to this experience of what Venerable Mary of Agreda did in terms of the gift of bilocation that the Holy Spirit allowed her to have, to use by the power of God to be able to catechize these Native Americans who were in New Mexico at the time. And we may never have heard about this. And it's an amazing, amazing story. Imagine how many things actually happen in the world and in the church and in lives of the saints, and even everyday holy Catholics who don't go on to be canonized, and we hear more about their stories. Look at how often God must actually be at work that we may be noticing. Let's open our eyes to these spiritual truths, and let us be confident in our prayers to the Lord that He can answer any prayer if it is of His pleasure to answer. Let us be confident in asking the Lord for those things. If you like this video, be sure to click that like button down there. And if you're not already subscribed to Passionately Catholic, be sure to subscribe and share this video with others that you know could actually benefit them and inspire them in their Catholic faith, so that we can all be more passionately Catholic together. As always, a big thank you goes out to our patrons, especially on Patreon, who keep us going and growing, supporting what we do here at Passionately Catholic. I wish you all God's abundant blessings and peace, and I look forward to seeing you again in our next video very soon.